Number 31. A. Why is it necessary to dry the harvested food grains before storage? B. What are the two ways in which farmers store food grains? Answer. A. The food grains obtained by harvesting the crops are dried in the sunshine before storing to reduce their moisture. This is because the higher moisture content in food grains promotes the growth of fungus and molds on the stored food grains, which damages them. B. The two ways in which farmers store food grains are: number 1. The farmer stored the dried food grains at home in metal bins and jute bags. Number 2. Dried neem leaves are used for storing food grains at home. Number 32. Out of drip system and sprinkler system of irrigation, which one is more suitable? A. For uneven land. B. For sandy soil. C. For watering fruit plants. D. Where availability of water is poor. Answer. A. Sprinkler system of irrigation is more suitable for uneven land. B. Sprinkler system of irrigation is best for sandy soil. C. Drip system of irrigation is more suitable for watering fruit plants. D. Drip system of irrigation is more suitable where availability of water is poor. Number 33. A. What are weeds? Name any one weed found in a crop field. B. How do weeds affect the growth of crops? Answer. A. The unwanted plants or wild plants which grow along with a cultivated crop are called weeds. Grass, ghash, is a weed which is found in a crop field. B. The growth of weeds in the field is harmful because they consume a lot of fertilizer, water, sunlight, and space meant for the crop plants and reduce the crop yield and lower the quality of food grains. Number 34. Explain how the irrigation requirements depend on the nature of the crop. Answer. The process of supplying water to crop plants in the fields is called irrigation. The irrigation requirements depend on the nature of the crop. Each crop needs a specific amount of water during the various stages of its growth and ripening. Some crops need more water, like paddy, whereas others, like wheat, gram, cotton, requires less water. Number 35. Explain how the irrigation requirements of a crop depend on the nature of soil in which the crop is grown. Answer. The irrigation requirements of a crop depend on the nature of soil. There are two important types of soil. Number 1, sandy soil, and number 2, clayey soil. The crops grown in a sandy soil needs irrigation more frequently because water quickly percolates down the soil and crop plants are not able to absorb adequate amount of water, whereas the frequency of irrigation for the crops grown in a clay soil is comparatively less because the water remains in the soil for longer time and hence the plants can absorb this water in adequate amount. Number 36. Describe the sprinkler system of irrigation. State its advantages. Answer. Sprinkler system is one of the modern method of irrigation. In this system, a main pipeline is laid in the fields. Perpendicular pipes having rotating nozzles at the top are joined to the main pipeline at regular intervals. When water from a tube well is allowed to flow through the main pipeline under pressure with the help of a pump, it escapes from the rotating nozzles. This water gets sprinkled on the croplands as if it is raining. Advantages. Number 1. The sprinkler system of irrigation is more useful for the uneven land where sufficient water is not available. Number 2. The sprinkler system is also very useful for sandy soil. Number 37. Explain the drip system of irrigation. State 2 advantages of the drip system of irrigation. Answer. Drip system is one of the modern methods of irrigation. In this system, there is a network of narrow pipes with small holes in the fields. When water flows through the narrow pipes, it flows drop by drop at the position of roots of the plants. This water is absorbed by the soil in the root zone of the plants and utilized by the plants. There is no wastage of irrigation water. Advantages. Number 1. Drip system provides water to plants drop by drop, so water is not wasted at all. 2. Drip system minimizes the use of water in agriculture, so drip system of irrigation is very useful in those regions where the availability of water is poor. Number 38. How do the irrigation requirements of a wheat crop differ from that of a paddy crop? Answer. All the crop plants need water for their growth. Each crop needs a specific amount of water during the various stages of its growth and ripening. Some crops need more water, whereas others require less water. For example, paddy crop is transplanted in standing water and requires continuous irrigation, whereas other crops like wheat do not require so much water. Number 39. Explain why the frequency of irrigation of crops is higher in summer season. Answer. The frequency of irrigation of crops is higher in summer season. This is because during the hot days of summer, the rate of evaporation of water from the soil and the leaves of crop plants is increased. Number 40. How are weeds removed from the crop fields? Name one implement used for weeding. Answer. The process of removing weeds from a crop field is called weeding. Weeding is necessary because weeds compete with crop plants for water, nutrients, light, and space, and hence affect the growth of the crop. The various methods of weeding are as follows. Number 1. With hand. Weeds can be removed from the crop fields just by pulling them up with hands. When we pull the weeds, they get uprooted from the field. These uprooted weeds can then be thrown away. Number 2. Using a trowel. Weeds can be removed by digging or cutting them close to the ground from time to time with the help of an implement called trowel. Number 3. Weedicides. We can use weedicides. Some of the common weed sites are 2,4-D, MCPA, and Butacler. Number 41. If wheat is sown in the Kharif season, what would happen? Discuss. Answer. Different crops grow well in different seasons of the year. If wheat is sown in the Kharif season, it will not grow well. This is because wheat plant cannot tolerate too much water of the rainy season. Number 42. Which of the following are Kharif crops and which are Rabi crops? Wheat, paddy, gram, maize, mustard, cotton, soybean, linseed, peas, groundnut. Answer. Kharif crops: paddy, maize, cotton, soybean, groundnut. Rabi crops: wheat, gram, mustard, linseed, peas. Number 43. What is a crop? Give two examples of crops. Answer. When the same kind of plants are grown in the fields on a large scale to obtain foods like cereals, pulses, vegetables, and fruits, etc., it is called a crop. Two examples of crops are wheat and gram. Number 44. What are the two types of crops based on seasons? Give one example of each type. Answer. The two types of crops based on seasons are: number 1. Kharif crops. The crops which are sown in the rainy season are called Kharif crops. Example: paddy. Number 2. Rabi crops. The crops which are grown in the winter season are called Rabi crops. Example: wheat. Number 45. Name the various agricultural practices in the right sequence in which they are undertaken by the farmers. Answer. The various agricultural practices undertaken by the farmers are: number 1. Preparation of soil. Number 2. Sowing. Number 3. Adding manure and fertilizers. Number 4. Irrigation. Number 5. Removal of weeds. Number 6. Harvesting. And number 7. Storage of food grains. In addition to these regular agricultural practices, one more agricultural practice called rotation of crops is undertaken, sometimes to improve the fertility of soil and increase the crop yield. Number 46. Describe briefly how soil is prepared for sowing the seeds. Answer. The upper layer of earth is called soil. The soil is prepared for sowing the seeds of the crop by: number 1. Plowing, number 2. Leveling, and number 3. Manuring. Number 1. Plowing. The process of loosening and turning the soil is called plowing. Plowing of fields is done by using an implement called plow. The plows are pulled by a pair of bullocks or by a tractor. Actually, the plowing of small fields is done with the help of animals like bullocks, while large fields are plowed by using tractors. Number 2. Leveling. The plowed soil is leveled by pressing it with a wooden leveler or an iron leveler so that the topsoil is not blown away by wind or drained off by water. Number 3. Manuring. Manuring means adding manure to the soil. Manuring is done to increase the fertility of the soil before seeds are sown into it. Once the soil is plowed, leveled, and manured, it is ready for the sowing of seeds. The soil is watered before sowing. Number 47. Why do farmers carry out leveling of the plowed fields? Answer. Farmers carry out leveling of the plowed fields because of the following reasons. Number 1. The leveling of plowed fields prevents the top fertile soil from being carried away by strong winds or washed away by rainwater. Number 2. The leveling of plowed fields helps in the uniform distribution of water in the fields during irrigation. Number 3. The leveling helps in the preventing the loss of moisture from the plowed soil. Number 48. What are the advantages of sowing seeds with a seed drill? Answer. The implement used for sowing is a seed drill. The sowing of seeds with a seed drill has the following advantages. Number 1. The seeds are sown at correct depth and correct intervals. Number 2. Regular rows. Number 3. When the seeds are sown in furrows by a seed drill, the seeds get covered by soil and hence these seeds cannot be picked up and eaten by birds. Number 4. Sowing by using a tractor driven seed drill saves time and labor. Number 49. Explain why the seeds should be sown at right spacings. Answer. The seeds should neither be placed too close nor too far apart. This is because the seeds are sown too close, then plants formed from them will also be too close and will not get enough sunlight, water, and other nutrients. Thus, an appropriate distance between the seeds is important to avoid overcrowding of plants. This allows the plants to get sufficient sunlight, nutrients, and water from the soil. On the other hand, if the seeds are sown too far apart, then it will be a wastage of field space. Number 50. What is plowing or tilling? Name any two implements used for tilling the fields. Answer. The upper layer of earth is called soil. The process of loosening and turning the soil is called plowing or tilling. The two implements used for tilling the fields are number 1 plow and number 2 hoe. Number 51. State two beneficial effects of plowing the fields or loosening and turning the soil. Answer. Two beneficial effects of plowing the fields are number 1. The loose soil allows the plant roots to penetrate freely and deeper into the soil so that plants are held more firmly to the ground. Number 2. The loose soil allows the roots of plants to breathe easily, even when the roots are deep. This is because loose soil can hold a lot of air in its spaces. Number 52. A. State the function of Food Corporation of India. B. What is done to protect the grains stored in gunny bags in big godowns from damage? A. Answer. The government agencies like Food Corporation of India (FCI) buy grains from farmers on large scale and store it in big godowns so that it can be supplied throughout the country round the year. B. Answer. To protect the grains stored in gunny bags in big godown from damage are as follows. Number 1. Pesticide solutions are sprayed on the stacked gunny bags in the godown from time to time to protect the grains from damage by pests during storage. Number 2. The population of rats in the godown is also controlled by killing them with rat poison from time to time. Number 53. Define manure. What are the advantages of manure? Answer. Manure is a natural fertilizer. A manure is a natural substance obtained by the decomposition of animal wastes like cow dung, human wastes, and plant residues, which supplies essential elements and humus to the soil and makes it more fertile. Manures provide a lot of organic matter like humus to the soil. A manure improves the soil texture for better retention of water and aeration. Advantages of manure. Number 1. Manure enhances the water holding capacity of the soil. Number 2. Manure makes the soil porous, due to which the exchange of gases becomes easy. Number 3. Manure increases the number of useful microbes in the soil. Number 4. Manure improves the texture of the soil. Number 54. What is a fertilizer? Name any 2 fertilizers. State 2 harmful effects caused by the excessive use of fertilizers. Answer. Fertilizers are chemical substances which are rich in a particular nutrient. 2 examples of fertilizers are potash and NPK. N is equal to nitrogen, P is equal to phosphorus, K is equal to potassium. The excessive use of fertilizers is harmful due to the following reasons. Number 1. The excessive use of fertilizers changes the chemical nature of soil and makes the soil less fertile. Number 2. The excessive use of fertilizers causes water pollution in ponds, lakes, and rivers, etc. Number 55. Explain how soil gets affected by the repeated growing of crops in the same fields. How does use of fertilizers help the farmers? Answer. For proper growth and functioning, plants require nutrients If continuous plantation of crops is done in the fields, then the soil will become poor in necessary nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, etc. This affects the yield and also affects the quality of soil. So, the nutrients once consumed by crop must be replenished so that soil get all its nutrients back and it will be ready for the next harvest. The fertilizers provide elements needed by plants to grow well, such as nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Number 56. What is weeding? Why is weeding necessary? Answer. The process of removing weeds, unwanted plants, from a crop field is called weeding. Weeding is necessary because weeds compete with crop plants for water, nutrients, light, and space, and hence affect the growth of the crop. Number 57. What are weedicides? Name one weedicide. Answer. The unwanted plants which grow along with a cultivated crop are called weeds. Destroying the weeds by spraying special chemicals called weedicides. Example 4D. Number 58. What precaution should be taken while spraying weedicides? Why? Answer. During the spraying of weedicides, the person should cover his nose and mouth properly with a piece of cloth. Since weedicides are poisonous chemicals, therefore spraying of weedicides may affect the health of the person who handles the weedicide sprayer. Number 59. Give any 4 differences between manures and fertilizers. Answer. The main differences between manures and fertilizers are: Number 1. A manure is a natural substance obtained by the decomposition of animal wastes like cow dung, human waste, and plant residues. A fertilizer is a salt or an organic compound. Number 2. A manure is not very rich in essential plant nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Fertilizers are very rich in plant nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Number 3. A manure provides a lot of organic matter like humus to the soil. A fertilizer does not provide any humus to the soil. Number 4. Manure can be prepared in the fields. Fertilizers are prepared in factories. Number 60. Define the terms. Number 1. Harvesting. Number 2. Threshing. And number 3. Winnowing. Answer. Number 1. Harvesting. The cutting and gathering of the mature food crop is called harvesting. In harvesting, the crops like wheat or rice are cut close to the ground by hand using a cutting tool called sickle. This is called manual harvesting. In large fields, wheat and paddy crops are cut by a motorized machine called harvester. Number 2. Threshing. The process of beating out the grains from the harvested crop plants is called threshing. Threshing is done to take out the grain from its outer covering called chaff. In the traditional method of threshing, the harvested crop is spread on the ground in a small area, and various cattle like bullocks, buffaloes, and camels are made to walk over it again and again in a circle. The cattle's feet crush the harvested crop plants, due to which the chaff breaks up and the grain comes out. In larger farms, a motorized machine called thresher is also used for the threshing process. Number 3. Winnowing. The process of separating grain from chaff and hay with the help of wind is called winnowing. When the grain mixed with chaff and hay is made to fall from a height in blowing wind, the grain, being heavy, falls straight to the ground, whereas the chaff and hay, being much lighter, are carried some distance away by the wind. In this way, the grains form a separate heap and can be collected and packed in gunny bags. Number 61. A. What are the two ways in which food grains are stored on a large scale? B. What is the advantage of storing food grains in gunny bags? A. Answer. The large-scale storage of food grains is done in two ways. Number 1, in gunny bags, and number 2, in grain silos. B. Answer. The advantage of storing food grains in gunny bags is that food grains filled in gunny bags can be easily transported and distributed at various parts of country. Number 62. Name 2 traditional methods of irrigation and 2 modern methods of irrigation. Answer. 2 traditional methods of irrigation are number 1, moat, and number 2, dhekli. 2 modern methods of irrigation are number 1, sprinkler system, and number 2, drip system. Number 63. What is a combine which is used in agriculture? State its functions. Answer. A combine is a huge threshing machine. Functions. The combine cuts the standing cereal crop in the fields, threshes it, and separates the chaff from grain in one operation. Number 64. What is animal husbandry? Answer. The branch of agriculture which deals with the feeding, shelter, health, and breeding of domestic animals is called animal husbandry. Number 65. What are the various practices necessary for raising animals for food and other purposes? Answer. The various practices necessary for raising animals for food and other purposes, or the elements of animal husbandry, are number 1, proper feeding of animals, 2, proper shelter of animals, 3, prevention and cure of animal diseases, and 4, proper breeding of animals.